Welcome to the first challenge of 2024, where I take a self-portrait and I intentionally flood my bathroom. Each week, 52 Frames compiles a page with links, ideas, inspirations for the week's challenge. In this week's challenge, they added a link to Rocky Mountain School of Photography, a blog on there, which basically is going from why you should give self-portraiture a shot. Yes, pun intended apparently. And they listed 5 reasons: self-reflection, creative exploration, technical mastery, learning your equipment, empathy, and self-acceptance. The two that really stood out for me was the empathy. Whenever we have to place another person in front of the camera, my other least favorite challenge of the year is usually portrait of a stranger. So empathizing with that person, and then self-acceptance. Basically, accepting ourselves, something we all struggle with in different degrees. I've opened up the weekly page as I mentioned before, and here you can see there's quite a few different tips and tricks they give you, and I've opened up a few of these tutorials. Let's quickly have a look what we've got here. Photograph your silhouette. Well, I've done that one in year 2, where I took all of my first year's photos, added a collage, and put myself in front of a projector to create that silhouette. So I've done that before. Photos with your pet. I don't have a pet, mostly because I love traveling and I feel too bad leaving them behind, so I stepped away from that. Transform your look with makeup, new clothes and wigs. I try to keep it as natural as possible, so I would like to go all natural for this photo. Focus on parts of your body. This is quite interesting. I quite like that. The eye and the lips and stuff. That's something to look into. Maybe with my macro lens. Practice different expression and poses. Nope. Pulling faces. I can only do funny faces that I usually do with my niece and nephew, and I don't think that'll make a nice self-portrait. Shoot through objects. That gives a nice soft, glowy, interesting look. That's also something to keep in mind. Hide parts of your face. Also an interesting one. I think last year's photo was based on that quite a bit. Shoot in black and white. I also always like black and white, especially with portraits. It just takes away the color to add more emphasis on the emotion of the photo. Then let's see. Then creative self-portrait techniques. Let your reflection show. I see quite a bit about reflection, so that's something that's sticking in the back of my head. Play with shadow. I quite like this. Not sure if I'll be able to pull it off with home equipment, since I don't have any pro lighting, but something to consider. Say it with black and white. Once again, black and white. Use color to enhance the mood. Okay, that's something interesting. That's actually kind of the opposite of the black and white, is to use the color to enhance the mood. Never thought about that. Once again, reflection. Play with shadows. There's a lot of the same, I would say. General ideas. There's the silhouette again. Close-ups. The close-ups, reflection, black and white. Those are the ones that really stand out to me for this week's challenge. So my next step usually is to lie on the couch or whatever and go onto good old Pinterest. So I've created a mood board on Pinterest, and these are basically the ones that stood out to me. The ones with the water are all reflection based, basically. And then there's a mirror one. I don't have a clean mirror, so don't think I'll be able to pull that off, but it's something to keep in mind. And then there's all the close-ups. That is fun. But once again, flowers in Dubai is quite expensive since they need to import them. I don't have a garden to grow my own, so let's put that idea on the shelf. And then we've got to shoot through stuff. I quite like the bokeh of the fairy lights. That also to cover up some parts of the face, create a bit of softness. And then There's also bokeh, softness, I quite like that. And then the close-ups like we saw in the other ones. Okay, so the two photos that I'm thinking about exploring a bit more was the reflection in the water. I'm very much a water person, so that kind of resonated with me. And then the close-ups, where I can practice a bit more with my macro lens. It's one of the most difficult lenses I've got, and I appreciate practice with it anytime. So my idea for the reflection is quite dodgy, I would say. I would like to cover my bathroom floor with water and go lie down to see if I can get the water. A lot of the photos are taken in a pool or the bathtub or something like that, but I would like to get low and try to get it a bit more eye level, and I'm not comfortable using my camera that low without holding it myself at the bathtub. So I'm going to go with the flood my bathroom to get that exposure. That's idea number one. Idea number two, and probably the one that will pan out a bit better and the easier shot, is to put on my camera on a tripod, put my macro lens on, and then play with a few ideas. Maybe some fairy lights. I've just taken down mine for Christmas, so that'll add some bokeh or softness to it. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. I decided to go with a more unlikely success story of this week's challenge, the one lying down in the water. My way of thinking was quite simple. I'm already in my gym clothes, so I have to take a shower afterwards in any case. So let's get this dirty, wet and cold challenge out of the way. Filling the floor with water using only my shower head took a lot longer than I initially anticipated. So I've got my camera there, my little DIY light there. Now the problem is finding a focus point. So I gathered Paddington to assist me with this job. I think it's quite appropriate since he's wearing gumboots and he'll be standing in water. What I'll do is I'll place him on the spot where I'm intending on lying down, finding my focus beforehand. Then I'll add the time lapse to my camera and try to take a few shots. So let's do this. Okay, so let's see if he's gonna be able to stand in this water for me. There we go. Brilliant. It turns out that Paddington makes a much better model than I do. I needed minimum amount of editing, whereas with my photo, I kept going, trying to make the best out of it, and ended up with a photo feeling way too unnatural for my own liking. Okay, so I'm going with the fairy light approach, but a little bit different. I'm using my macro lens, so I've put it inside the lens hood and very careful not that it scratches my lens. And then I'm gonna try and focus on certain parts of my face, freckles, lips, eyes, and see what happens. I'm basically using the shutter release on this side. Let me see if I can show you. So on that side is the screen, so whenever I look in there, I can see on there whether I am in focus, and then I use the shutter release to capture the photo. Okay, so I'm basically just moving around a bit. I don't know if you can see, but whenever I'm going to try to use my ring, you see that red there, that's where the focus is. That's a peaking I put on my camera. So I tried to find my focus with that. I chose this photo for the unlikely composition of me looking outside the photo instead of into the photo, as well as the orange bokeh provided by the fairy lights and the softness provided shooting through all the cables. In my edit, I enhanced the orangeness to make my blue eyes pop even more. Although I'm still not a fan of the self-portrait challenge, I'm fairly happy with this photo. Here is another few photos I took with my macro lens. Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. So my challenge for this week is done and dusted. I've submitted the photo. Now I can sit back, relax, have a cup of coffee with Paddington since he assisted me this week, and then start to think about next week's challenge, where I'll be learning a new technique. It'll probably be from Mauritius since I'll be visiting my niece and nephew and sister and can't wait to see what we come up with. Thank you for watching and join me next week. Bye bye.